Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining in our session today. So, I'd like to thank all the students who have joined in today for this session, and it's a really pleasure having you here. So, my name is Vaibhav, and I'm your host for today's session, for hosted by Shiksha Study Abroad, and we have Md Aiman Farooq. So, he's our panelist for today's session. So, he's one of Shiksha's alums, and he got his counseling and like admission process done through Shiksha, and he's studying at TU Nuremberg, Germany, and he's pursuing his MBA there. So he'll be sharing his overall journey and experience with us today as to how he got admitted and how was basically what sort of challenges he faced in the initial stages. And he can share his experience with you, and hopefully you can get a lot of knowledge through that. So thanks a lot, Ayman, for joining us today again. And if we can start with your brief introduction, I guess that would be very helpful to the students to start with your journey.
Yep. So first of all, thank you for having me on board. My name is Aiman Farooq, as Vaibhavya mentioned. I am from Bangalore in India. So all the Bangaloreans, namaskara, hegidira. Good to have you guys. And of course, all the other fellow aspirants as well. I am 26. I'm in my second semester at the TU Nuremberg in my MBA, specializing in general management. So I wouldn't really call it a specialization, but I would call it a good overview of every aspect that there is to management. I've got about 4 years of professional working experience, predominantly in the automotive industry, since I'm an automotive engineer from my bachelor's. So I've done my bachelor's in automotive engineering from Hindustan University in Chennai, and then I also worked in Bangalore and Mysore, assisting my father in the family business that we have. We run a automation and security solutions company. Apart from that, thanks to my passion and my interest in the automotive industry, I have worked in the fields of marketing and business development and product management for brands like Jaguar Land Rover in India, as well as GSE Motor in the Middle East in Oman. And after that, I'm now here in Germany for the last 6.5 months or so. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, that's great, Ayman. Thanks for sharing your experience. That was like you have almost shared each and every aspect of your career till now, and that's very great. So, Ayman, why did you plan on pursuing your MBA since you were already working with such prestigious companies already, and you've already have had work experience abroad as well outside India? So,
Yeah.
why did you plan on pursuing your MBA, and why did you select Germany as a study destination?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. For someone who, by his degree, by virtue of his degree, the bachelor's degree, uh, is usually looked as a misfit in management. So whenever people would meet me, be it in India or abroad, in my work line of work, they would ask me what I am, and when I say I'm an automotive engineer, but doing things like marketing and product management, the first thing they would ask is why. So I think the first sort of thinking that people have is if you've got an engineering degree. Yeah, I mean, of course, people in India there's a saying in Hindi, लोग इंडिया में पहले engineering करते हैं फिर सोचते हैं करना क्या है. So but I wasn't like that. I wanted to do automotive engineering right since I was a kid. So since I was technically sound, with my engineering degree, and I was handling the management aspect of the automotive industry, I thought it's always a better step to better my options, my opportunities in my career, which I wouldn't get without, I think, an MBA. An MBA sort of makes your profile a much better, a much more well-rounded one, if I may call it that. It helps you to gain some theoretical knowledge that you would have also experienced with your practical working experience. But an MBA helps you understand a lot of these things, working with different people, different nationalities, intercultural competencies, things like that. So that's predominantly the main reason why I wanted to get in and get a formal education in this stream of management. And Germany, well, I think it's understood if you can connect the dots. Germany is the land of cars. I'm a car guy, and I'm in management, so it wasn't really too difficult to land in Germany, land Germany as an option. But yes, also because of the fact that Germany has one of the best prospects that one can look at when it comes to education. It's I think it's a gateway to Europe. It's one of the, or if not, if I can call it, the leading opportunity center in Europe, be it for education, be it for work, be it for business. So, and the quality of education, the standard of living, and the opportunities that students have here in this sort of education system that they provide, which is very diverse and different compared to India. So yeah, these are a few things that help me circle out Germany as my go-to country.
Okay, great, Evan. And like since you have already like pursued your course for 6 months, if you can give us a brief as to what were the prerequisite requirements for your like course, and like do they require GMAT as well for the like MBA that you have enrolled for, and what sort of German proficiency are they looking at? So students looking for to apply to the same university might have some knowledge about it.
Yeah, firstly, yes, for an MBA, maybe anywhere in the world, you are required to have a GMAT proficiency. But happily, not Germany, at least not yet officially. I think there are only about 10 or maximum 15 universities out of a little over 1,000, 2,000 universities that there are in Germany that really want the candidates to have a GMAT or a GRE proficiency. So for TU Nuremberg, no, there's no requirement to have a GMAT. But yes, there is a strong requirement, not just for TU Nuremberg, but for anyone aspiring to do an MBA from Germany or maybe even Europe, that they need to have a minimum of 2 years of professional working experience. Some universities also say 1 year of experience is enough, but I think more the better. So 2 years of experience, work experience. And what else was it? What did you ask? I'm sorry.
Do you do you basically, is there any sort of German proficiency required there as well? Like
No,
B1 or
since the
B2?
course is all in English, the course is
Mm-hmm.
taught all in English by professors who are not just German. Like, for example, today I was in a class about an hour ago. I attended and got done with the class by a professor who's an American. We have classes by professors from the UK, and so on and so forth. So that is another good aspect of Germany. It's a very cosmopolitan country, so to say. There are a lot of people from different nationalities in different mediums. So you get to learn not just from Germans, you not just get an opportunity to integrate with Germans, but also get to rub shoulders with a lot of other international people as well. So my course or most MBA courses, no, you don't need any German proficiency. But yes, to survive, to live in Germany on a day-to-day basis, to maybe buy groceries, to go to a restaurant and order food, to maybe fix an appointment with a doctor, these things, the daily routine stuff, yes, it's I would say I highly recommend people learn German, at least the basics, A1, A2 if they can, before thinking of getting into Germany. But yes, it also does happen that a lot of people do A1, A2. Like I myself, I did A1 in India. I'm doing A2 right now here. But even with that basic German, especially when we learn in India and we come here, uh, of course, there's a huge difference when you learn German from maybe India and then in Germany. So the dialect, the accent, and of course, them being native speakers, they're much faster to speak in German. So a lot of us, when we come here, and I say a lot of us because most of my friends, including me, we struggled a bit when we first came into Germany because we could not understand anything anyone was telling us. Be it your, the building manager who handles your apartment, who hands over your key to you and shows you around your apartment. Nothing. So I'd highly recommend you learn at least the basics, A1, A2, if you can, and practice. Attending a language course is one thing, to practice the language is another. And that's the more important bit. So yeah, practicing the language is far more important. So that is something I would suggest.
Alright. And as per your experience till now, like obviously you're recommending the students to go for at least A1 proficiency before
Yeah,
landing to Germany and taking admission. Since your
yeah,
course is in English, obviously you would take time. Practically, any student would take time in learning German as a language, because obviously they know that there is no actual immediate requirement they have to study in English itself. But do you think that this comes up as a challenge when you want to go for part-time jobs there or placements? Because obviously all the companies which are homegrown, like German companies, taking your example, like if you apply to companies like Audi or BMW, so obviously they would want a person speaking fluent German. So would that be a
yes.
challenge at that time?
Yes, definitely. You're right to say that. Um, well, now again, things are changing. If we talk about things the way they are currently, a lot of companies are going through this phase of globalization, and even Germany, who's hell bent on being, bureaucratic and wanting to impose language on people. But even now, things in Germany are changing. The requirement for the language is in at least these big global companies that you mentioned: BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Adidas, Siemens, the big names from Germany. These at least, again, depends on what role you apply for. So if it's any customer centric management role, then yes, you definitely need to have fluent German proficiency. But even otherwise, I think if I can say that any student who's in Germany, if he can get to at least B1 level proficiency, then I think the doors that open are like 100 times more just by getting to the B1 stage of proficiency. And then, yes, of course, it's a language. You learn a language not by attending courses, but by speaking it, by mingling with Germans, by trying to integrate yourself as much as possible in the community. So, yes, you also pick up the language, the local accent, the dialect, the colloquial language, if I can call it that. So, yeah, that takes a bit of time, and that comes only through exposure. So, once students are here for part-time jobs initially, might not be a huge requirement, but then if you want to progress and make a career in Germany, then yes, I strongly suggest you get your German skills high.
Okay. That's great. And we have a lot more attendees joining in. So students, I'll
Sure.
request you to post in your queries in case if you want to have certain, if you have certain queries with Aiman, you can put it in the Q&A box or the chat box. So we'll, once the session is over or in between, we'll put up a brief time where we'll be taking up your questions individually. So feel free to put in your queries in the Q&A box or the chat box. All right. And Eman, coming back to the campus, so how's the campus life and the faculty? So how's your experience been with the university time?
I mean, it's honestly great. And then again, something which call it a culture shock or a community shock. In India, we as students are accustomed to, when someone says our university campus, we are always, of the impression that it's one big compound which has a lot of these big buildings and different departments and so on and so forth.
Mm.
That is, at least in Germany, so to speak, not the case. Like I know my university, TU Nuremberg, has, I don't even know how many buildings, eight, nine, or definitely more than that, buildings scattered all across the city. And these are all different departments. So the campus culture, if I can call it that, is not existent in Germany in most of the public universities. In private universities, yes, but in public universities, there's always the scattered buildings and departments that are, a part of this one big organization called the university.
Mm.
But yes, the faculty, we as of course international students get dedicated program managers in TU Nuremberg who help us with any query that we may have, be it related to accommodation, be it related to the course, exams, registrations, anything. Any query that an international student might have, there's an international office, there are program managers for each program. So for the MBA program, uh, there's a dedicated team of, I think, 2 or 3 people whose main and only focus is to uh, facilitate the international students who have come in every semester with multiple things that they may require to settle in into Germany and Nuremberg. So they are really helpful. It's also, one of the stereotypical assumptions that Germans are very cold, they're very, into themselves and things like that. I would rather disagree. Um, if Yes, it also depends on how open they are, how much exposure they've got to the world. So if you maybe talk to an old German, he might not be as welcoming as a university student, a German university student would be, because of the globalization that we mentioned a little while ago. So yes, the people have a lot of these opinions that Germans can be cold, can be rude, but I don't think so. In the last 6.5 months that I've been here, I have not faced any incident where I could even consider calling them anything close to being cold or rude or anything like that. They're very welcoming, they're very helpful. Germans love to help. That's a fact. If you're struggling with something uh, and you don't ask a German, maybe they have no idea because they think you're able to do it just fine. But the moment you ask a German for help, they'll leave anything that they're doing and be there to help you with it.
All right, that's great. That's good to know that at least people there are welcoming to and ready to help out the international students as and when required. So that's great.
Yeah.
And how about the academics there, Evan? So, like obviously you have done your bachelor's in India, so there'll be a lot of difference if you compare it with India. But like, is it somehow relatable the way that they teach, or is it completely based on the practical aspect? So, what are your thoughts on the like academics there?
See, I had the good opportunity to do an exchange program, a semester exchange program while I was in India doing my bachelor's. I did one of my highest semesters in Korea, in South Korea. Uh, if I would not have gotten that opportunity to go and explore a different system of education, I would be in complete shock and would be facing utter chaos. Like most students who come from India, the first country they get out of India is Germany, and they come here to study. Not just Germany, any part of Europe for that matter. The education system is extremely different and honestly totally opposite. In India, the students, we are sort of in a system that is reliant on spoon feeding the kids. They rely on spoon feeding data, and you as students are expected to replicate the same in an exam. Here, that's not the case, and that is in fact one of the best things about the education system. To give you an example, in this semester, I have 6 subjects, and each subject requires me to do a presentation. Each subject requires me, or at least a couple of them require me to do an essay. I know 1 or 2 of them require me to do a project with a company. As a management student, that's very important to network and connect with companies and really work on management related tasks and issues and strategy and stuff. So this is something in India we as students never get to see or experience. So a lot of them, when they come here, they're overwhelmed by how different it can be. But I think the only solution is to just take it in your stride and understand how different it is and what value it imbibes in you as a student. You are expected to challenge a professor, you're expected to learn on your own, you're expected to learn so many new things that in an Indian education system, a student will never have the opportunity to do, based on the hierarchy system that we have. Even what the professor says is what is the fact. But here, and it happens pretty much in every other class, the professor might be putting on a point, and someone would have a totally different opinion, and the professor does respect it. And when he sees the logic in it, they say, yes, you're right, I might be wrong there. So this is something a lot of students will face. And it's a good thing to face because it sort of opens their eyes and broadens their horizons to see how different learning can be and how better learning can be.
Exactly. And I guess that would be an added advantage as well, because we,
Oh, totally,
being
yes.
a students in India, are not very used to doing essays and presentations. Obviously, not for every subject. There'll be a certain time
Yeah,
you might have to do a presentation, but only single or double, like twice.
yes.
But
I mean, in
that gives you
India,
a
it is
practical exposure.
sort of unheard of to, not have an exam and still get to pass a subject. I, for a fact, had one subject last semester and one subject this semester where there's no exam. Last semester, I had a subject which was just about me having to write an academic research paper all on my own with just a little bit of guidance from the professor, submitted, and I was evaluated. That was my exam. This subject, this semester, I have a subject which has um, a presentation to submit, maybe a 10-minute presentation, and let's say 1,000-word essay. And that's it, 50% for the presentation, 50% for the essay. So when, especially we Indian students come and we, are faced with such a situation, most of us don't know what to do. We don't know how to quantify these, and we don't know how are we really going to work around a presentation which covers 50% of the grade, and how do we go about doing it all on our own with just a bit of guidance from the professor, because we are not used to that in the Indian education system. We are all spoon-fed from day one, which is rather a very bad thing, sadly, once you experience the education system that is outside of India.
Mm.
So yes, students get to experience that, and that's the best part. It can be a little difficult, but it's really worth it.
That's great. Great. Good to know. And like coming to like the basic details any person would like to know about Germany before landing there. So how's the weather? Like, is it relatable to India somehow, or is it on the colder side?
It's relatable is a very, it depends where you are from in India. If you're
Uh,
from Jammu and Kashmir, maybe.
okay.
If you're from Chennai, maybe not.
Hmm.
It's very different. It's very extreme. Like Nuremberg, for example, had an amazing. I came in April. I came in the middle of April. Winter had just sort of ended, but it was still cold. I remember I went for the city registration. You register yourself
Hmm.
as a resident in the city, so that you're a legal immigrant. I remember it was, I think, the 20th of April. It was supposed to be summer, and I was standing outside the registration office at 7:30 in the morning, and the temperature was 0 degrees. So
Oh.
that's summer. Yes. But yes, as the summer started to set in, we also saw temperatures, thank global warming for that, touching 38, if I am not mistaken. And now, I think today is what? It's Saturday. I think from Wednesday onwards, the last Wednesday, the temperature started to decrease again. Winters arrived.
Mhm.
And starting next week, we have maybe highs of like 10, 12, lows of 1, 2. Again, it depends on which region you're in. I'm talking about Nuremberg and Bavaria. Most of Bavaria has similar weather. So yes, winters can be a challenge to a lot of students, especially as Indians who haven't really, experienced harsh winters. Most of us, if you've gone and experienced winters, it might be us spending a few, nice days in, I don't know, Manali and Shimla and, Leh and all those things.
Mhm.
But to survive those situations, not just for a vacation week, but for 6 months, that's the real challenge. And that's where a lot of the students, I don't know if I should say it because it might put off some people, but again, it's everywhere on the internet.
Mhm.
There's a term called winter depression. A lot of students who are very happy-go-lucky, very bright and bubbly, once winter hits, they go into this depression because the sun. I mean, surprisingly, it's I think 9 degrees, and I see some good sun today. But that wasn't the case since morning. It's been really cloudy, gloomy. It also rained for a while since morning. So yes, you also get to experience all four seasons in a day sometimes.
Oh.
So it is really different. But it depends how you look at it. For some, it's really nice. It's a good experience. For
Mhm.
some who maybe like to plan their outings and events, they don't know. They might want to carry an umbrella, and it's 30 degrees, and once they think it's 30, the next moment it rains, and they need it. It really gets crazy sometimes, but yes, it's fun.
Alright. So that's something a student might have to adjust to, because
Yes.
getting extreme weather, like you will have extreme conditions being on the
Yeah.
cooler or the hotter side. Okay,
Yeah.
quite cool. And how about the accommodation, Evan? So, like, how did you get your accommodation? And like, do you have to pre-plan it before landing to Germany? Like, you have to book your accommodation pre-hand, or is it provided by the university? So, how is it?
No. Anywhere in Europe, not just Germany, anywhere in Europe, I don't think you have this concept of university hostels. Very few do, very few. Maybe I don't know, handful. You have this. You don't have this concept of student hostels or your student dormitories that are provided by the universities. And given the situation now, due to COVID, due to the Ukraine war crisis and the sanctions on Russia and the energy prices going up and all that,
Hmm.
I mean, the world knows Europe is undergoing a little inflation of sorts. Today, if you don't plan your accommodation at least 3 to 4 months before coming to Germany, you're in for trouble. And I have to be blunt about it, because there's no point giving sugar-coated knowledge to some people and they come here thinking, oh, I'm going to find an accommodation easily once I land. No. I myself have got a few friends who, like when we started last semester, um, they, I think, were forced to stay in expensive hotels for like 2 weeks, 4 weeks till they found an accommodation, which again was extremely expensive. And they continue to stay there because there's no option. So, yes, accommodation is something that not just students who plan to come to Germany from India, but even the Germans who live here as well, even when they want to move, they plan it depends on where you are, between 3 to even 6 months at times in advance. So getting an accommodation can be a challenge, especially now given the conditions. But yes, there are also a lot of these. There's an organization called Student and Work, and I had a friend who told me about this. So for my intake in March, I applied, I think, in early December to this organization, and I filled a form saying that I'm coming to Nuremberg, and you have a few, student dorms.
Mhm.
So these are private organizations, and they're there in different parts of Germany. All major cities have this organization. You have these forms that you fill, and on first come first serve basis, they put you into any dorm that they think is suitable for you as a student, and which university you belong to, which course, what's your nationality, and things of that sort. So yeah, I think, I wouldn't say I was lucky, but I think I planned well in advance, and I got my accommodation much before I landed in Germany, which is a good thing. But yes, I've also seen a few of my close friends in my own course who have really struggled the first month or so without an accommodation. They were forced to stay in hotels that cost like, I don't know, ranging between 20 to 40 euros per night, which is expensive for a student who's come into Germany who's not, without an accommodation, you won't be able to register yourself as a resident. So students, when they come, they usually bring limited money in cash. They maybe get some money in terms of a forex card. And I wouldn't suggest blowing up all that money you plan to use at least for like 2 or 3 months in 2 or 4 weeks on staying in a hotel and eating outside every day. So yes, please, anyone who wants to come to Germany now, plan your arrival. But before planning your arrival, plan where you're going to stay. That is a really important point right now.
Okay, that's great. Cool. Thanks, everyone, for the info on that. So I hope
No
all the
problem.
students are joining. All the students who have joined in, they're enjoying the session with Aiman today, and
I
they're
hope so.
able to grasp, yeah, and they're able to grasp a lot of knowledge. So I would be launching a poll on the chat box, so where you can rate the session with Aiman today, and like how helpful it was and how knowledgeable it was to you, and whether but you would be planning to study in Germany in the coming years or not. So I'll just start the poll, and as again begin with the session, and you can start with rating the session from your end as well. So we'll be taking up the questions as well. So thanks again. Coming to the accommodation again. So what's the average like cost a month that you have to bear, like for the private accommodation, and if you have any idea regarding dorms there?
So now I stay in the student dorm that I mentioned. So in the student dorm, I currently pay, I think, one of the cheapest rents for a student dorm in Nuremberg as of now. I pay just including electricity and heating just a little over 225 euros, I guess, which trust me is as good as staying for free. And I'm not even kidding. Private accommodations, again, it really depends. If you are going into a WG, they call it WG, WG, it's basically a shared accommodation. If you do that, then yes, it can uh, be a little cheaper, but in the range of say 300 to 450 or so. But then if you are someone who does not want to live in a shared accommodation, sharing, let's say, the kitchen and the washroom with other people, you like your privacy, you like to have your own little space, then maybe a private single room apartment, or what we call in India a studio apartment, would cost you anywhere between 450 to 700, even 800. I mean, the sky is the limit.
Hmm.
So that's why I really recommend everyone to as much as possible apply to the student and work dorms that they have. I'm sure there are a couple of other organizations as well that do these student dorms. And for those of you who do find it a challenge to find an accommodation, there are a lot of these pages on Facebook, these groups on Facebook, WhatsApp groups, I think even on Instagram, uh, that you can maybe leave your query and asking someone if they have any leads to an accommodation, and if someone knows something, they are usually very helpful in giving you information about a place that's available. And it's also more important to keep your university informed. As I mentioned, we have these program managers. So a few of them who have come in this semester, in this intake in October, they, when they faced these challenges, they wrote to them, the program managers, and it was really helpful. Some of them got an accommodation, a decently cheap accommodation through the managers finding them a place through a referral or through some organization, so on and so forth. But yes, accommodation, I wouldn't say is a challenge, but it's more how well you can plan it. If you can plan it well in advance, then yes, it's really easy to find one. I had genuinely no problem at all. I landed in Germany. I landed in Frankfurt. I took a train to Nuremberg. I came here. Before coming, I just dropped an email to the building manager saying that, hey, I'm gonna arrive on this day at this time. Can I get the key at this time? And he said yes. I was here at the set time, maybe 10, 15 minutes late because there was a delay in the train. And yeah, he was there standing at my door with the key and the documents to sign, for me to take over the room. It was extremely smooth. But if you don't plan it, it can be a misery. So yes, do plan.
Okay, that's great. So, Eman, we can start by taking up a few questions from the students who have
Yeah.
posted. So we'll start with the first question that's posted by one of the anonymous attendees in our session. So they are posted as, do they provide scholarship there? So I guess he or she is asking regarding the scholarship that you must have received. So if you can
I
share.
wish I would have. No, honestly, you see, there are a lot of scholarships. There are websites like the DARD website. I'm sure whether you're aware of it, the DAAD.de. That's the Holy Bible and Quran for anyone who wants to know what course Germany offers. So yeah, you can go there and get a lot of information on scholarships as well. But for TU Nuremberg, for the MBA, of course, there's no scholarship. It's a paid course. But the other, let's say someone wants to still, do some course in management, but does not want to pay the fees, and maybe does not have a lot of work experience as well. There are courses like international business, international finance and economics, which don't have any tuition fee. You just pay the semester contribution of 120 euros per semester. But again, those are for students who are fresh out of their bachelor's, maybe just have 6 months to a year of experience under the belt, and want to gain a little more insight onto those fields in particular. It's a slight gateway into management. But if you're someone who has 2 or 3 years and more of experience, it honestly does not make a lot of sense to go into those courses. An MBA is what is better suited for you, uh, because an MBA sort of puts you much higher in terms of weightage or ranking when compared to an master in management student, because of the experience that an MBA student holds, along with the degree, of course, which holds higher value.
Mhm.
And
Right.
hence there are no scholarships. But there are some other scholarships which are very few, very exceptional cases. Very few people get it. But yes, there's always room to explore and find something if you can.
All right. That's great. And like we, like comparing it to other countries in Europe, obviously it's on a very like cheaper side or on a very budget friendly side, if you can call it. So even if there's no sort of scholarship also being provided, I guess it's still quite like manageable for a student.
Yes, definitely. See, for students, most of us, depending on which university to go to, like in Nuremberg, we get a semester ticket,
Hmm.
which allows you to travel anywhere in, let's say, a 50 square kilometer radius, rather 50-kilometer radius for free during the entire semester.
Hmm.
Uh, because that is the ticket value is something that's a part of your semester contribution,
Hmm.
and you can use it on weekends and stuff. If you are someone who uses the train and the public transport a lot, even during the weekdays, like in the day, because in the evening it's of course free. If you're someone who uses it even in the day, you pay maybe 200 to 20 euros extra for the entire semester. That's about 35 euros per month. And again, you get to cover all the like the entire region for very, very cheap price. So transportation is cheap. German transportation, the network is excellent. You have connections to virtually every nook and corner of Germany through public transport. So that's the best part. Yeah, some people also might be shocked that Germany, being known for being punctual, has one of the most delayed train networks in the world, I guess. They're always never on time. So, yes, that's also there. But yeah, accommodation is your major chunk of, you know, money that goes. Accommodation and insurance. Once those things are sorted out, living, groceries, let's say internet and stuff are really cheap. And students in Germany get a lot of discounts and offers from various people, not like people who want to buy maybe a laptop or a smartphone once they hear, or anything, virtually anything, sports items, shoes, anything, literally. Students have a lot of discounts. So all these things put together make it really, really convenient to stay in Germany as a student, because let's say a couple hundred meters down south of Nuremberg is from where Switzerland starts. And Switzerland, I think the chunk of Switzerland compared to Germany is at least twice more expensive on anything. So as a student, it is really, really expensive to stay in Switzerland. I'm sure even the Germans don't like staying in Switzerland. They're fine, going there for a couple of days to holiday. But more than that, even the Germans who are decently paid, even they don't like it. It's that expensive. So yes.
Okay, that's quite cool. And like coming to the next question again asked by one of the anonymous attendee, the question is that anything you think we should bring to Germany which is not available in Germany? I guess he wants to say that which is not available in India. So anything
No,
that you suggest?
he's correct to ask, he or she is correct to ask, what to bring,
Mhm.
which is not available in Germany. And I think the best decision I did was to bring, our desi pressure cooker and kadai. These things are not, I wouldn't say they're unavailable, but they're
Mhm.
available at prices you would be crazy to pay if you want to buy it in Germany.
Mhm.
They're really, really expensive. So, and yes, of course, in India, we use gas. In
Mhm.
most of Germany, we use electric cooktops.
Okay.
So these induction based. So
Mm-hmm.
please pick up a cooker and a kadai which are suitable to be used on induction cooktops, not just hot plates, but induction cooktops so that they can be used on both. That is something a lot of people do. They, they have this cooker at home, they pick it up, they come to Germany to realize it to chalega hi nahi because it works on gas,
Yeah.
and an electric top can't use a pressure cooker or a kadai which has the base of a regular gas burner. It just won't switch on. So that is one of the most important things. I like that question. Good question, though. Yeah.
All right. That's great. So, like that's quite relatable, and obviously students can carry a lot of utensils as per the requirement. And obviously, as you have
Yes.
already mentioned, that they should have that uh, cooktop based compatibility, right? Induction, they should be
Yes.
induction based.
Induction based. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Again,
you
there's
also
another.
get these hot plates. You
Hmm.
get the hot plates, which are just plates, electric plates that go hot.
Hmm.
They can make anything hot. Okay,
Okay.
but then there are these induction cooktops which will switch on only if there's an induction
Exactly.
base
Hmm.
detected. So it's always better to buy an induction base because some houses have the induction base ones,
Hmm.
some have a regular hot plate. So buy an induction plate when it works everywhere. It works on gas, electric, hot plates, induction. It works everywhere. So it's a worthy investment. The rest, I think, you know, every major city in Germany has an Indian store where you can get virtually every masala, every spice, every commodity that an Indian household might require,
Hmm.
including these pressure cookers and all these things, but they're very expensive. So it makes no sense to buy it.
All right. So that's one point to be noted by the students. And again, the next question is quite relatable to the one that we were discussing. Is there a large difference in the food in Germany and Indian, like India cuisine? So he wants to ask the difference or the comparison between the Indian and the German cuisine. Or do you get Indian food there as well, or you prefer cooking? So how do you go about your
Yeah,
cooking?
I mean that's what in these Indian stores you get all the ingredients that you might need to cook an Indian meal, and Indians are everywhere, and Indian food is loved world over. So there are a lot of Indian restaurants all over Germany, and most of them serve really good food. But yes, there is a huge difference in terms of food when we compare, let's say, German food to Indian food. Indian food is everything oily, spicy, fatty, tasty, and all these relatable adjectives. German food is bland, raw, uncooked most of the time. So they just eat salads and soups and maybe sausages and stuff like that. So there's a huge difference. I know. I think 3 weeks ago I attended a sort of a tour organized by my own university where we went through some historic relics of Nuremberg because Nuremberg has a huge history.
Hmm.
It's a town that was established in 1050, so it's a little over 1,000 years, a little less than 1,000 years old, and has a lot of varied history. So after the tour, we were taken to a Franconian. So Franconian is the Bavarian region where Nuremberg lies in. We were taken to a very famous Franconian restaurant for dinner, and none of us had any clue what we were eating. And of course, for someone like me who's a practicing Muslim, of course, I'm sure there will be a few Muslim attendees also who would
Hmm.
want to know is there halal food available, just so that we're on the topic.
Hmm.
So yes, there is halal food available in Indian restaurants, in Turkish restaurants, Arabic restaurants. For someone who wants to cook, chicken or whatever, lamb, there are halal supermarkets. Like majority is the Turkish community. I think in Germany, after the Germans, the second biggest community is the Turkish. I think 25 to 30% of Germany is just Turkish people. So there are a lot of Turkish restaurants, a lot of Turkish supermarkets which give you, halal meat also,
Hmm.
for the ones who are concerned about this. But yeah, as an Indian, my take would be you will not enjoy, a German meal. Yeah, maybe for once you would, but if you ask an Indian to eat that for the rest of his life, he'd rather die. I could put it that way.
That's quite a big statement to make. So
Yeah.
obviously you obviously on your end also you would prefer cooking your meals at home because you were telling that you get
Yeah.
all the masalas and all the raw things are available. So
Yes.
obviously anybody would prefer cooking in that case. And what's like you must be having food outside as well, like you would be like visiting restaurants and all of that. So what's the average cost per meal, like if you would have calculated?
Well, depends. Let's say an Indian restaurant, just to put things into perspective. Yeah, it's of course nowhere as cheap as it is in India. Let's say in India, a decent restaurant, a chicken biryani is in the range of 150 to 200. Of
Mhm.
course, better restaurants have it much higher, but 150 to 200 would be a good figure to compare. In Germany, the same plate of chicken biryani can be, anywhere around, I don't know, between 12 to 14 euros, which is about 1,000 to 1,200 euros. So, but yes, there are also like a lot of the Indian restaurants, especially, they have these midday menu.
Mm,
Most of these restaurants have it. So where they have some slash rates in the afternoons from
mm,
Monday to till Friday, and it's open to anyone. So you can go in on a, let's say, a weekday at 1 o'clock and have the same chicken biryani, which is maybe 14, 15 euros for maybe 8 euros. Yeah,
mm,
of course, it's not still not as cheap as India, but it's literally half the price. So you have that. You have a lot of thali options,
mm,
and the quality of I've visited a few Indian restaurants in Germany, in Nuremberg, in
mm,
Munich, and neighboring cities.
mm.
I must say they're really authentic. Most of them are really authentic.
All right. That's quite good. And it's still sorted that you have like you have good restaurants there. Because we have had
Yeah.
experiences from students where they tell that in UK and Ireland, a lot of restaurants are not able to provide that top quality food. So it's still good to know that
Mhm.
in Germany you get good.
No, there are, I think, compared to Ireland, I don't know, but I'm sure even UK has a lot of good, Indian restaurants. Considering the fact that I don't know how many people know this, a couple of months ago or maybe 4 months ago, UK declared, tandoori chicken as their national dish. So that's one way to, yeah. So there's a lot of, good Indian restaurants in UK as well, but of course they're much more expensive compared to Germany. I have a
Exactly.
friend who's currently living in the UK, and she was, discussing the same about me. So when we were discussing, it sort of, added up that German restaurants are far more cheaper compared to even the UK and Ireland.
All right. That's great. So we have had all the discussion regarding food and how to like get the sourcing done. In case if there are students who are unable to cook themselves, we have shared the approximate cost as
No, trust me, I am no cook as well. Before
okay.
coming to India, I'm sure my parents will agree. I know my dad's on the session as well.
Uh-huh.
I remember I was packing the cooker and the kadai, and my dad legitimately asked me, "What are you going to do with these?" So, because before coming to Germany, all I could cook was, hot water in an electric kettle. I could, pinpoint it to that specific levels.
Mm-hmm.
But now I sort of prepare anything that I want to. So yes, that's something you learn. Independence and, getting out of your comfort zone teaches you to adapt and improvise, I guess. So yeah.
That's it. So these things would help you learn, and obviously they'll. So so that's quite good for the kind of experience that you have shared that you were not able to cook and now you are able to do a lot of things. So this is the real struggle, obviously, like studying abroad involves as well, but still it's.
I would, yeah, I agree. A lot of people call it a struggle, but I would like to call it a good, the real learning, if I can call it that. See,
Mhm,
even I think in India, when I went to Chennai to do my engineering, the 4 years that I spent there not just taught me, the aspects of engineering, but also a lot of key aspects of life, I guess, surviving, adapting, living in a changing environment,
mhm,
being exposed to and, having, developing the ability to manage different kinds of people, things like that. So that just sort of escalates to another level when you move out of the country.
mhm,
And yes, it does become difficult for a lot of people to, cook, clean, buy groceries, study, write your exams, do your projects, uh, find time for friends, family, entertainment. It does get really, really hectic at times. Yes, it does. But yeah, I think that's where you sort of learn to fine tune yourself and up your efficiency and learn to manage all these things together. So that's, I think, one of the biggest learnings that no degree, forget MBA, no degree can, teach you. So yeah, that's one of the key learnings of moving out.
That's great. Good to know. And like, if we can take the next question up related to part-time. So
Mhm.
the question that we have come up with is, can you please give me more insight on part-time jobs for a person who's doing MBA or wants to pursue MBA in Germany? So what's the part-time like aspects?
Oh no, this is I'm reading the question. It's about a part-time MBA for a person who's got a job in Germany and wants to pursue an MBA along with his job.
Mhm,
So again, a very good question, a very apt question.
mhm,
I, for a fact, have a couple of Pakistani classmates in my MBA here who work from, I don't know, 8 or 9 till 4:30, whatever. They're a part of Siemens. They work with Siemens till like 4:35, whatever the timing is, and 6 o'clock they come in for the lectures. So I think TU Nuremberg, I'm not sure how many other universities have this
mhm,
facility, but TU Nuremberg, I think, was another good option for me because not just, okay, now that you said it, it doesn't just give someone who, let's say, wants to work part-time, and most part-time jobs, of course, as we know, are during the day. It not just gives students to work part-time in the day to, help them with their money and expenses, but it also gives the people who are working in Germany right now to pursue an MBA. So TU Nuremberg especially has all the classes from 6 to 9 in the evening. I have, yeah, like today was a Saturday, and we have about 3 or 4, Saturdays every semester where we have a class from the morning 9 to maybe 2 or whatever. But yes, TU Nuremberg especially is wonderful in that way, where it gives you the opportunity to do your MBA part time and along with your job as well. And the course is planned so meticulously that it doesn't really interfere in your job, even if you're working a full-time job with any company. And that was just the Pakistani students. I now have, in from this semester onwards, a few Germans, couple of Indians who also, have been living in Germany for a long time and now are pursuing their MBA along with their job. So yes, it's really possible. TU Nuremberg is one of the, best options that provide this facility. But I'm also sure there are a few other good universities who do this.
all right, that's great. So, like there are part-time MBA opportunities available as well. And what's the average like pay that they are getting in case if you have had a discussion with them? Uh, like
Uh,
they paid on an hourly basis and what like how many
Yes, for the part-time jobs, now again, see, there are that is a discussion for a totally different day. If I mean, you can go on and on. Part-time, you can split into a couple of different or three different things. There's a regular odd part-time job, which, of course, as soon as you come into Germany without knowing the language, but
Hmm,
still having the necessity to, facilitate your expenses, you need to get into some job to get you that disposable income.
hmm,
So students get into these odd part-time jobs where they work with warehouses, they work with delivery partners, they work with restaurants and these cafes as baristas and things like that. I myself, for the I think until a couple of weeks ago, was working with Amazon in their logistics department in the warehouse. And yeah, part-time, these odd jobs, they usually pay you the minimum or just a little over the minimum wage, which is now 12 euros to an hour.
hmm, hmm.
And it's upped. It was, I think, 10 euros per hour. But now, due to the rising inflation, they've made it 12 euros per hour. So that is one thing. And then, yeah, of course, there are working student jobs. You are as good as an employee, a full-time employee, but you're still a student who's studying university while working with a company like, say, Siemens, Puma, BMW, whatever. So working student jobs uh, pay you, of course, a lot more. If I can give you maybe a rough estimate, uh, if nothing, maybe twice more compared to a part-time odd job, because there it's not something where you're serving tables or delivering food or groceries, but you're actually applying your mind as a full-time employee and contributing to the organization, which requires a lot of effort mentally as well. So yes, of course, there you're paid much well. And the benefit about a working student job is that if you're good with what you're doing with the company, usually 90% of the time the students are absorbed by the company as a full-time employee once they graduate as well. So right now I finished my little stint with Amazon Logistics, and I'm in the process of looking for these working student jobs as well. And I say now because the first semester I needed something to not just while away time, but also get that money. But now I want to, since you go into your higher semesters, you want to get that industry exposure. And as a management graduate, that's a key in Germany at least. You need to get yourself immersed in the industry. So yeah, that is something I'm myself in the process of looking out now. But
Mm.
yes, it's really possible.
Great. So you have shared the aspect as well. So there's an increase in the pay. So it's come
Yeah.
up to 12. So okay, so that's a big update to the students who are looking forward. And like taking up the next question, the student David, he's asked us that does the embassy need IELTS over Duolingo, even though the university accepted Duolingo? So I
Uh,
guess he wants to
for
ask
now,
regarding the university acceptance.
yeah. See, it's not a university thing now. I think from the 1st of November, if I'm not mistaken, there is this entirely new thing which has come up called APS,
Okay.
where students are required, Indian students are required to apply for this APS verification, where they, I think it costs about somewhere in the range of 16 to 18,000 rupees.
Mm-hmm.
And the APS checks all your documents. And yeah, some universities accept a medium of instruction or a Duolingo certificate, but it's always better to have an IELTS. But of course, depending on which university you apply to, there's usually a very clear, requirement criteria which is mentioned. So you really know what is required by the university. So for my university, they did need me to have an IELTS of I think 6 or 6.5 and above. So yes, you do require IELTS. I would suggest go for IELTS irrespective of what it costs. It's not really that difficult,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually easy to get a decent grade in IELTS, and it sort of opens up more opportunities for students as well, in terms of the number of universities that they can apply to. But now, given that this new APS system is in place, I think you guys can Google it. I'm pretty sure IELTS has become a mandate. So yes, anyone who is going to be coming to Germany from this semester or the next semester, which is in Jan or March, based on which university it is, have to have an IELTS along with this APS. So APS is something any new aspirant must look into. It's something which is really new.
All right. Great. Plus, the benefit, I guess, of doing IELTS is that it's globally accepted in all the universities, even if students are
Yes,
looking to apply to other countries
yes,
apart from Germany. So that would be an added advantage.
yeah.
That's
So
great.
that's what it opens up so many more doors for them.
Exactly. So we have done with almost all the questions now. Just a few more left. So coming to the next question again,
Mhm.
how is usually the study work balance if someone is doing a part-time job in Germany? So you have like
It's
you were
it's
sharing your experience working part-time. So if you can brief us regarding your work-life
see,
balance.
see, at least in my case, I can happily say it's a real breeze because my classes are in the evening, my work was in the morning. So there was no real clash or no hard battle that I had to do to balance both these. But yes, as I told you, because there are so many things that you are expected to do as a student, not just on the university front, but on the domestic front as well. Cooking, cleaning, all these daily activities.
Hmm.
That balancing work, university, and the household thing can sometimes become a little overwhelming. But I think you improve over time. I know the first month for me was chaos, and then now I think I can manage it easily. So yeah, you get better with it.
All right, that's great. Cool. And like coming to the last question that we have, is it safe for girls in Germany? So if you can rephrase it, obviously you can quote girls as there, but is it safe for international students also altogether? Like obviously including
Yes. Yes, it's safe for girls. It's safe for anyone. I know, like what today is a Saturday. Fridays and Saturday nights are, usually the youth go out to these clubs and restaurants and they party and stuff, and you'll find some of the other people walking back home after a party late in the night, or riding a cycle back home, or even using the late night public transport at times. It's really safe. It's absolutely safe. The police are really helpful. They're really friendly. That's something which, again, not a lot of countries have that, thing. The police can sometimes be a little cold or a little rude to international people in some places, but not Germany. I remember I was once, in the night, I was coming back home, and the police just, asked me. I mean, they were doing their regular patrolling, and they just happened to, cross me and then ask me if I'm okay going home. How far do I stay from here? Uh, am I okay walking, and things like that. So they're really concerned. So yeah, I can say it's absolutely safe.
all right, that's great. And have you faced any sort of racism till now? Like you already shared your experience with the Germans,
This
but
is again a question I see in a lot of forums.
Mhm,
And the answer would be no. At least directly, I haven't really faced any sort of racism, not
mhm,
just from Germans or any fellow European or international student or whatever, professional or whatever. I mean, today the world is becoming a lot more globalized, and people are more open to accepting different people apart from their own.
mhm,
So the whole idea of racism is sort of bubbling down. But yes, there are also on a few forums and places that I've read where people, a few of them, very few, of course. If you look at the percentage, it's very, very few people. Uh, they have complained about having, people, stare at them and all that.
mhm,
And yeah, trust me, that is something which is a very German trait to have. A German will stare at you. He can be walking past you, he'll stare at you because he's observing you, not just because you look different and you're from a different place.
mhm,
It's just how Germans communicate. That's their way of non-verbal communication. It's just a trait they have. So, and especially when a German is maybe talking to you in a discussion as well, they
mhm.
can be staring serious and dead straight into your face without showing any emotion. If you get that from a German, it means you're keeping his attention active and alive, and he's listening to you. If a German starts fidgeting and doing anything, but I think that's for anyone. You're not really speaking his language, and he's not really giving you any attention. So a lot of these forums I've seen where people say people give us cold stares and things like that. That is really a very German trait. It's not that they're racist or they don't like you. It's just the way they are. The sooner you understand the cultural differences, the easier it is for you to adapt and integrate with Germans.
So that's another major thing for a very major thing, obviously for a girl or any Indian student to adapt to. So
Yeah.
that's quite good. And like coming to like one of the most important things apart from all the discussion that we have had is, so what are the placement opportunities? I know you are in you have done all like almost, you haven't even completed almost like half of your course. You are at very early stages in your course, so it's still a lot more journey left to do. But like, do you have any idea regarding placements, and like if you have had if you have had your friends or students from there who shared their experience, like who have completed their course? It's so how is the placement opportunities, and like what are the packages that they are being offered, in case if you have any information on that?
See, placement, of course, going with the way things are in Germany right now,
Hmm.
there's a huge demand for skilled labor, huge demand for good management professionals as well when you talk about MBAs. So, yes, there's a lot of demand, there's a lot of opportunities. But yes, it's basically that initial breakthrough that is what takes time. But once you get that working student job or an internship or anything like this with a decent company, as I even mentioned a few minutes ago, most of the times, unless you have done something extremely wrong, you are absorbed by the company as a full-time employee. And most of these seniors that I've made connections with in my university, they've been placed with companies like Siemens, with Schaeffler, with some with even Audi, and stuff like that. There's so many, not just these companies, but so many other local German companies as well, who are now expanding and stuff. And yeah, I didn't really have a thorough discussion on the pay scales, but yes, it's as an MBA, as someone, again, considering you have 2 years of experience before your MBA, at least 2 years of experience, because that's a requirement. You're decently paid. I think if I can pick a ballpark, for a master's student or an MBA student who's getting into management at even an entry level role, you can maybe expect something in the range of 58 to 65,000 euros package before taxes every year. But again, that's subject to so many different factors. The region you stay in, the city you stay in, the company you are in, the type of job role it is, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's the rough ballpark.
All right. That's cool. And like apart, like since your background is mostly automotive, right? So automotive is one of the most demanded sectors in Germany. Any other sectors that you suggest are one of the booming sectors in Germany apart from automotive? So students who are looking at particular jobs or particular
Mhm.
courses, which sectors should they look at to consider to have higher probability
See,
of?
again, automotive is a huge, huge sector here, as you rightly said. Then I think next in line comes IT. The IT sector is not just big in India and Germany, it's big everywhere. But yeah, the IT sector is huge in Germany as well. I think now the healthcare sectors and the biotech, the biomedical, chemical engineering, these sectors are sort of also coming up because there are a lot of these biochemical or bioengineering companies. One of the biggest chemical companies in the world, BASF, is here in Germany. So medical research, bio research, these things, medicine, uh, that has a lot of scope in Germany. um, I don't know, law maybe. I was reading. I mean, I think I saw an Instagram reel a couple of months ago, which showed me that I think even law, there are a few good law schools who give a nice career path to aspirants as well. But yeah, predominantly it would be manufacturing, production, automotive, and IT.
All right, that's great. Cool. So we have discussed on almost all the pointers that a student would require to like travel and study in Germany. So now what the session that we can do is that I'll ask all the students to put up their questions. In case if you directly want to have a discussion with Ayman, you can raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak. And you can have a direct conversation with Ayman and ask your query directly. So in case if you want to speak to Ayman, you can raise your hand and I'll give you the permission to speak.
I think there's one question popping up. Is
Yeah.
studying in South Korea better than in Germany? Uh, well, the sort of education system is similar in both countries. They both expect you to, they don't spoon feed you basically. I think it's only in our subcontinent, the Indian subcontinent, that this whole culture of spoon fed education is there. I have friends studying in the major countries of the world, and I've also got friends who are studying in countries like Turkey, which is never really considered an option as an option for education abroad. People there, my friend who's studying there, he says the kind of standards and the differences in education is crazy. So we, as the Indian education system, are, to be honest, very, very far behind the world. So yes, studying in Korea and Germany, study-wise, they both were sort of the same challenge. But I think it's much better to integrate in as a society. Germany is much better compared to Korea, because Korea, I think, has a huge barrier for language and food, for us Indians especially. I think if you can take those two barriers out, it's amazing. If you can manage those two barriers, Korea again has some world-class universities for some really good courses, and they're extremely well paid. I think they're, if not on better, they're on par with Europe. Like the upper half, the better half of Europe and Scandinavian countries, where pay is usually the highest in the world.
That's great. And like since we didn't get any hands raised, there's one more information I'd like to share with the students. So I'll be sharing our WhatsApp group link in the chat box where we have Shiksha alums who are studying in different parts of the world already a part of that group. So in case you want to join that group, you can join that group through that link and you can directly ask your queries there as well. So the students would be really up and forward to help you with the concerns that you have. And Eamon, like there's another query that I like would like to have you answer to like help out the students. So how's the Indian community there? So like what are the how many Indian students study with you, and how active is the Indian community? You celebrate major festivals like Eid, Diwali. Like we just had Diwali just went by. So how's the experience there related to that?
That I think is something the Indian students that are planning to come to Germany don't even have to think about. I mean, people should have sort of read between the lines when I said there are so many Indian stores and restaurants. They wouldn't be there if not for the community. So every city has a pretty big Indian community. They're all connected on different WhatsApp groups. Be it, there are groups to help you buy and sell stuff. There are groups to help you find stuff. There are groups to, help you with queries. You can have any query regarding Germany, anything for that matter, and you can put up a question, and there are people who will, genuinely reply back with the right information. There are these festivals like Diwali. I know there was I couldn't attend, but there are so many events that happen all throughout the year. Diwali, Holi. I know. I think Navratri. I attended one of these festivals as well. There's so many things. I mean, so yeah, that's something we really don't have to worry about. Every major city in Germany has a very good Indian community, and yeah, they're very supportive per se.
Okay, that's great. Good to know. So that would obviously help out the students. Initial stages, a lot of students have had this complaint that they feel quite homesick because obviously you can't expect to have a lot of friends in
Yeah.
the initial
And
stages.
you asked me about my classmates, if I heard correctly.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
am in such a class where surprisingly we are an MBA is a very limited batch. We are maybe about 20 odd students this semester. But even then, we have quite a few Indians in the course. So, and even in the alumni, there's a lot of Indians, which shows that not just U Nuremberg is good because Indians come here and they sort of have a community, and most of these people are now working or about to start working with these big German companies like I mentioned, Siemens, Schaeffler, Adidas, and so on. Uh, but it sort of also helps them, not feel homesick.
Mhm.
If you stay in student dorms, or even if you stay in the shared residences, you are bound to find a lot of Indians. There are certain towns where you'll find a lot of Indians, like maybe 20 minutes or so a train journey from Nuremberg is a town called Erlangen. That's where the Siemens headquarters is. That town, I think, has people only for two reasons. One, there are people working for Siemens, and two, there are people who study in FAU Erlangen, which is another very famous German university. And majority of these students, or even the people who work in Siemens, are Indian. So you go to Erlangen train station, you find yourself as if you're in India. So that does really happen.
Okay. That's quite cool. So another question just popped up, Evan, that's quite
Yeah.
important, I guess. So the
Yeah.
question is that can you please give more details about
Please.
fee,
Yeah.
excluding all the block account fee, accommodation, and transport?
No, I think yeah, that's a good question again. Now, fees is something which really depends on which university and which course, of course.
Exactly.
In TU Nuremberg for the MBA, it's a paid course. I think an MBA is a, no, I don't think, I know for a fact that an MBA is a paid course anywhere in the world. But the benefit, yeah, the financial benefit of doing an MBA from Germany is that it not just is on par with the best management institutes in the world, but it's also one of the cheapest when you look at it that way. Like in TU Nuremberg, the fees for the 2-year MBA course is 21,000 euros. That's what I pay for the 2-year course. And that is how it has been for the last few years.
Mhm.
And talking about blocked account, I think for a constantly for a few years until last month or so, the blocked account fees was also 10,332, which is now due to the inflation and the war and things like that has also gone up, so that the students don't find it difficult to make ends meet. Once they're here and they don't have a part-time job or anything to help them sustain yet. That's I think now gone up to, if I remember it correctly, 11,411 or something like that. But yeah, around that figure. So it's gone up by about 1,000 or 1,100 euros. But that does really help given the situation now because, as I mentioned, there is a sort of a little difficulty in finding accommodation. And if you do find an accommodation, it is a tad bit more expensive now than maybe when I landed 6 months ago due to the inflation. But yes, it really does help. And what you can save is it's your money you save, and it helps you, save and to maybe save or pay your own fees. For example, I know I did that along with my part-time income, so it does really help. And in a town like Nuremberg, if you manage to get into say a student one like I did, the expenses as well are not that high. I think to give you a rough estimate. Um, I think my monthly expenses would be somewhere in the range of 550, maximum 650 euros. So either ways, I'm still with the current 10,300 euro blocked account status. I'm still saving from the blocked account money at least 200 to 300 euros every month, which is a decent amount. And 500 to 600 is a good average for a student living in Germany, in Nuremberg. But yes, if you go to the big cities, the big four as they call them, Hamburg, Berlin, Frankfurt, and Munich, in the way they are placed, there, yes, the expenses can be a lot higher for students and professionals alike. The rents are higher, everything is more expensive. Food is more expensive, living is more expensive, groceries more expensive, restaurants are more expensive. So there, yes, you will maybe not be able to save as much. But if Nuremberg and similar tier 2, tier 3 cities, that's a good estimate to have between 500 to 600, 650 euros.
Oh, that's great. So, since we have almost taken up all the questions and like students did not raise their hand, so I
Mhm.
guess we can end the session now. And it
Sure.
was really fruitful having you here, Eman. Thanks a lot for taking out
Okay.
your valuable time. I know that you just ended up with your classes and just came back, and
That's
I
okay.
know it would have been a very tiring day for you. So it was a
It's
really
okay. No
fruitful
problem.
session, and I
I mean,
guess
it's always good to share knowledge, I think. If even 10% of the people who attended the meeting or the session would have gained something new. If they gained something that they did not know before, I think it's an achievement, honestly. So
And
yeah,
yeah, since I have shared the YouTube channel link as well on our chat box, students can follow us on YouTube, and we'll be sharing the session on our YouTube channel as well. So obviously, the students can come back again and look at the information that we have shared in the session. So it was great having you with us, Eman. Thanks a lot again for
thank
joining
you.
us.